So, hello again. My name is Khalid Al-Gabal and this is the continuation report for the lesson 11 in Philippine art. The 1960s proved to be a period of modernism and dynamism with a lot of styles, techniques, and methods emerging. So during the 1960s, nadagdagan naman yung art styles na dito sa Pilipinas at nagkaroon din ng modernism and dynamism art style. Then, most artworks were reflections of the political, social, and economic situations of the Philippines during the Marcos administration. So, yung panahon ni Marcos is karamihan sa mga artwork ng mga Philippines dati ay nagde-depict about sa political and social status that time na namuno si Marcos. It was a period wherein people embodied and advocated for nationalist ideals. This is the reason why there was a paradigm shift of subject in the artworks. Beautiful and idealistic imagery was replaced with aggressive undertones. The works were reflections of the general feel of the people based on the political situations during that time, when former President Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law, suppression of freedom of speech, and social realism became the norm. Most artworks were forms of protest against the government's suppression of freedom of speech and expression. So during sa panahon ni Marcos, during Marcos administration is karamihan sa mga artwork is in a form of protesting because that time marami masyado yung hindi sumasang-ayon sa martial law. Then yung art style, yung form ng art is napalitan, parang nag-shift siya from beautiful and expressive way of art, naging aggressive ito at saka undertone, which means it talks about the negativity of the society. Ang example ng mga artwork na to na nagde-depict more on about martial law issues is yung Salvaged Memories, Salvaged Life by Randolph Delia. So itong paint na to is a type of oil mural painting kung saan makikita natin sa central feature the dictator with iron hands. It means yung bakal po yung kamay niya depicted in his characteristically imperious gesture which we Filipinos know. So, like parang it talks about the law that he was trying to give sa mga tao. Symbolizing the grid are the gold bars tumbling down on a weighing scale. So, yung gold bars naman is nagsisymbolize ng pagiging greedy ng isang diktator. Upper right-hand part of the painting are the framed portraits of Rolex 12. So yung Rolex 12 naman is yun yung that time during Marcos administration, yung Rolex 12 na yun ay kilala sa most powerful advisors ni Ferdinand Marcos. So those are consist of 10 militaries at saka including the two person which is Eduardo Danding Cuanco at saka si Juan Ponce Enrile. So, yung Rolex 12 na yun ay makikita natin dyan sa painting na yun na nakaportrait siya sa frame ng picture. And then, the Filipino desaparecidos. Ang ibig sabihin ng desaparecidos ay yung forced disappearance. So, makikita natin yung mga tao dyan sa left and right. Yan yung mga tao na desaparecidos that time during the Marcos administration. So, like parang nawalan sila ng justice sa pagkawala ng mga tao na yan, ng mga Filipinos na yan during Marcos administration. Philippine flag becoming the tablecloth. Makikita nyo dyan sa table ni Marcos, nagiging tablecloth na yung Philippine flag. So, like parang nadudumihan na siya. He was commissioned, Randolph Delia was commissioned to paint this in an 8 by 8.15 feet So yun yung size ng oil mural painting na yun. So this was an artist's attempt to bring forwarded to the present reality which should not be forgotten and or rewritten. So the reason kung bakit pinaint itong artwork is because the artist want to convey that these issues during the Marcos dictatorship should not be forgotten or hindi na dapat maulit pa. So yun yung kino-convey ng mga artists. Another one that depicts the issue during the Marcos administration was the paint of Virgilio Aviado entitled Evelio Javier 2/20. So, nagkaroon ng art exhibition sa Ateneo Art Gallery. Then, he was commissioned to paint something. Tapos, karamihan sa mga painting niya is nagde-depict about issues during the Marcos administration. And isa dito is yung Evelio Javier. So, a little trivia, Evelio Javier is siya yung isa sa mga opposing team sa Ferdinand Marcos. So, after the snap elections, 5 days after the snap elections ay pinatay siya. And that is why gumawa siya ng painting entitled Evelio Javier. So parang pinapakita na pinatay talaga siya and yung pumatay sa kanya or nag-assassinate sa kanya is mga team rin ni Marcos or mga tao rin ni Marcos. So Aviado wants to convey that like parang magkaroon ng justice sa pagkamatay ni Evelio Javier, and that's why pinintay niya to during the art exhibition sa Ateneo Art Gallery. So yun yung kwento behind the painting. So yung painting na ito isa etching pala siya, isa siyang printmaking art kung saan gumagawa or naglalagay ka dito ng acid para makapaint doon sa metal na yun. So in addition, some of the works reflected issues like economic problems, land reforms, gender rights, workers' rights, and cultural minorities plaguing the Filipino people brought about by the martial law. Eventually, photography has evolved into an art form which highlights various artistic expressions evident in a variety of events, scenes, and activities. So, ang dami-daming artwork during the 1960s na nagde-depict about sa social negativity or yung social condition that time nung naipasa yung martial law. So, ang daming mga issues na or ang daming mga paintings na ginawa that depicts social issues during the martial law. So, isa na dun yung mga graffiti, pinipinta nila yung about yung nangyari sa kanila during martial law. And then after that, nagkaroon naman ng evolution sa art form ng form of art sa Philippines, which is yung photography. So, ito na yung pinakasikat ngayon na form of art na kadalasang ginagawa ng mga artists. Ang example ng photography art na ito is a photography that was captured by Francisco Guerrero. So, wala ito siyang title kasi image lang siya. So, ang sabi niya dito, this is an image I made a few years back in Lake Cebu, South Cotabato, Mindanao. The woman's name is Oyog. She is a community leader, dancer, and teacher with the Tiboli people. She is sitting the front porch of the school living traditions, a place where the children come after official school hours to learn the Tiboli cultural practices, weaving, song, dance, myths. She teaches them as many aspects of their culture as she can, hoping that through the new generation these practices will be preserved. So, si Oyog is isa siyang teacher ng mga Tiboli kung saan ang sabi dito ni Francisco is nagtuturo siya about sa weaving, dancing, and music. So sa Behind her, the Philippine flag in the DepEd grade school building. It's what I want. It's what I wanted to say with this image. As the Philippines move forward in this globalized age, we are losing a lot of the cultural and ethnic diversity that gives our definition of Filipino its plural and varied aspects. Recently, I have been hearing the term Filipino civilization more and more often. I think this is an important shift in the way we think about our indigenous peoples and our pre-Hispanic history. It seems as if from our collective memories, our history starts with the arrival of the Spanish. Anything before that is glazed over as a mixed grouping of tribes and traders intersecting. As we have added to our knowledge of pre-Hispanic history, we are starting to see a much more complex evolution of the cultures in the Philippines. We were incredible sailors who could cross continents, and evidence now supports the theory that our peoples traveled as far as Hawaii and the Polynesian Islands. So ang pinapahiwatig ng artist ng photographer na yun is that as far as we are trying to as far as we are trying to be modern, like parang nawawalan na yung culture natin and our identity as Filipino. So parang gustong ipahiwatig ng photographer na dapat ma-preserve natin yung culture natin at saka yung knowledge natin sa ating culture dahil karamihan ngayon parang yung nagiging culture natin is start daw from the pre-colonial, which is may mga Filipino naman dati pa before the pre-colonial period, and that is why we have to preserve our culture. So yun yung story behind the photography of Francisco Guerrero. To wrap it up, Asian art, particularly Chinese and Japanese arts, has helped in the establishment of their identities as a people. So yung Chinese and Japanese is yung kanilang mga artwork is more depicting about their identity as people. A common thread between the two cultures is the emphasis on religion and how man is an integral part of a society. China may have influenced Japan during the early part, but later on, Japan eventually welcomed Western ideas. So, as on our discussion, Japan was influenced by China, and then later on, they welcomed the Western art styles and Western ideas. There is a difference in terms of allowing Western influences to be integrated in their works. China remained conventional, whereas Japan chose to let Western ideas be embodied in their artworks. So, yung China is parang they let themselves made artworks na kanilang-kanila talaga, which is wala masyado na influensya. Ang naka-influensya lang is yung kanilang religion na Taoism at saka yung Confucianism na belief system. And then, while ang Japanese naman ay winelcome nila yung Western ideas, which is it became the part sa style ng kanilang artwork. So kahit dati pa man yung Japan is nagkaroon na ng fusion ng East at saka West art style. The Philippines, on the other hand, has undergone some changes when it comes to the art scene. From the time of the early Filipinos to the contemporary times, art has been used in a myriad ways. So, iba naman yung sa Pilipinas, yung art scene nila is paiba-iba from yung pinaka-native like yung mga sari-manok, yung iba't ibang weaving system sa Pilipinas hanggang sa napalitan ito ng pre-colonial, na impluwensyahan sila ng mga Christian hanggang sa umabot na sa about sa mga political issues yung kanilang mga artwork hanggang sa naging photography nila. So maraming paraan yung maraming paraan kung paano nagpalit-palit yung art style ng dito sa Pilipinas. So that's all for our report. Thank you for listening.